episode of Deadbeats Panel, or DBPP. We're still working on the name. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Hopefully you liked the first episode. We're back. We are moving into what is going to be more of our normal format at this point, where it will be myself, Jesse Graff, Wave Jesse.
Hi, guys.
And Trevor Anderson, and then a different guest, hopefully each week. This week, we are lucky to be joined by Casey Kagawa, who is a longtime friend and also a contributor from the crowdfunding. Casey is a second lieutenant and in the Army. And Casey, where are you based out of right now?
Currently, I am at Fort Gordon, Georgia.
Nice. Thanks for joining us. We'll just get right into it. You guys kind of have an idea what we're going to talk about, but it is going to be, we'll start with some movie stuff and then kind of go into the bigger tech angles. So to begin with, let us start with the, let me bring up my screen share here.
Professionals. Yeah!
What the hell just happened?
Is everyone okay?
Safe and sound.
It sounded like there was a runaway train that just ran through the show. Is everyone all right? Everyone good?
Oh yeah. That's the train tracks that run past my house. Everybody say hello to the train tracks that run past my house.
Right. I bet that's super fun at like 2 a.m.
Quality.
Okay, so the first one. Let us talk about the. So if you guys didn't see, Valve is doing kind of a new thing where they've always had, or not always, but recently they've been pushing that content creators that add DLC and add-ons for various games, modders for lack of a more general term, they have been trying to find ways to get the money for their work. They have thrown up a new idea, though, that is going to be, I'm really, really interested to see how this all plays out, because before it was Valve would set aside money and then pay out the modders. Now the modders are going to be setting their own prices for their own creations. That can range from a new weapon, which could be just a custom thing, to having certain aspects, or it could be to a full skin. Like if you've seen Grand Theft 4, that was where a lot of modders went crazy and introduced things like Iron Man as an actual playable character. So with Grand Theft 5 now coming to the PC, I think that is going to be where you're going to see a lot of this come. Right now, Valve's initiative is limited to Skyrim, but that is only because they're seeking out permissions from different companies right now. So this is kind of the new thing you're going to be seeing a lot of. Modders that are able to change or charge for their own work, and they can set their own price. Valve isn't really regulating the market. They're going to step in if there are any scams or any things like that, and there is, I think, a 24-hour return period for anything you buy. But for the most part, this is a brand new free market that is completely unregulated. Is this going to, do you guys think this will be a good idea, or is this going to turn into a giant clusterfuck within the next week? Casey, what do you think?
Well, I think the first thing that we need to really kind of look at is, one, will Valve actually give a shit about monitoring how this actually is going to go? Because there's two kinds of brand shiny new Valve initiatives. There's the one where they pay a lot of attention to it and really kind of focus hard on curating the experience, making sure everybody gets what they want. Or there's the one where they just kind of throw it out there and say, here's a thing we made. Bye.
Well, I think, I mean, that is the question, and that's kind of, in a weird way, it is representative of some early open markets where, the government or whoever would set up the market and then only interfere later as it was needed. Is that going to happen here? Is Valve going to take kind of a different approach where they let things play out, and when or if will that point happen where they're going to have to step in and make some sort of regulations? It's weird free market.
Apparently, the first there's already been one of the paid Skyrim mods has gotten yanked.
Yeah, it was basically stealing another mod and reskinning it for its own profit.
Oh, for God's sakes!
Yeah, that took no time at all.
Yes, humanity already ruining everything. But
Yeah,
here's my
why
question:
we can't have nice things.
Exactly. So here's my other question though: is how far is this going to go? I actually got two. How far is this going to go? Because you mentioned like the furthest that they mentioned so far is like remodels and skins and that kind of thing. But I'm going to show my PC gaming age here a little bit. What about total conversions? What about stuff where they basically take the existing assets, completely reskin them, tweak their behavior and how they act and what they do, and then release it as essentially kind of like its own game, but like a mod?
Like DayZ did for Arma.
Or like Counter-Strike for the Half-Life 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good question, because right now on Skyrim there are only a few paid mods. There were 10 the other day when I saw it. It's probably like 20 or 30 now. And most of them were just like swords. Those went up in price like to about $1 or so. But then there was one that was a new companion that had actually about 600 hours of recorded dialogue, it said. I don't know if I believe that or not, but you could tell there was a different level of commitment to someone that made a sword versus someone that created a new character and went into a studio and actually recorded vocal tracks for it. So
by studio you mean their closet probably, but yeah.
Apparently they say they went into an actual professional recording studio. You're probably right. But even so, it's a matter of someone.
Yeah, the professional recording studio they built in the closet.
Even so, if someone took a few hours to like make a sword versus someone that spent days, even weeks, like creating this character, writing all the dialogue out, and even if they had one person come in with a microphone and read it, there is way more time commitment to that, and that's sold for $4.99. Is that a proper value? Is the market going to determine if that is the proper value?
Who set the $4.99 price?
The creator. That's kind of the thing. The creators are setting their own prices.
That's their deal then, man. Laissez-faire. If they're going to build it and they say $4.99 is good, then $4.99 is good. Open market can go where it wants. I guess my question is, how do they deal with copyright stuff? Like you said, they had an Iron Man. Isn't that a copyright infringement?
Yeah, and that's a good question. This was a couple of years ago when GTA 4 came out on the PC. Someone created, basically it was a new character skin where you looked just like Iron Man, and it tweaked all the player attributes so you could jump and essentially fly and shoot pulsars instead of rockets or something like that. But it was just basically a very, very intricate cosmetic change to the game. But you're right. I mean, maybe they called it like Man of Iron or something like that.
Right.
So I don't know. That is another good question. How is this going to play out? And at what point does Valve actually have to jump in and start laying down rules like the copyright?
You think they'd have to, unless there's some sort of disclaimer that says we're not responsible for whatever they put on here, but I don't know that they'd let that slide, because Marvel and DC, they're not going to let their characters go out there for free like that.
I mean, normally I would agree with that, but then again, Valve is pretty. They're pretty consistent with not getting involved with a lot of stuff like this. You know, they're in that source. They're all, you know, they're open source. They do a lot of different things where they're as transparent as they can be. But are they going to have to step in and regulate this market or not? I think it's fascinating. I really want to see. And how long until this turns into, you know, a bloody Mad Max style world where everybody is undercutting everybody else and screwing everyone over? So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I think that there's also another side to this, which is the as far as the business angle of it is concerned. What are we going to see? Because they've very much made it clear that the current divide for Skyrim is 75% gets split between Valve and Bethesda in some undisclosed ratio. 25% goes to the creator. But they also made it clear that this is entirely just the decision that they made with Bethesda, that any future game may or may not adhere to this ratio.
Yeah.
And so, 25% out of $1, so basically for every sale that you make, you're getting a quarter. If you're a $1 sword mod. And so, what do you... Because ostensibly the idea is we want to support these smaller mod makers being able to make an actual, if not a living, at least enough money to make this a going concern.
A supportive income.
Yeah, that doing it in itself becomes worthwhile. What point are we going to see? I mean, because the thing is, we have no idea where this kind of magical crossover point is, where it suddenly becomes worthwhile economically for these people to start just making these mods, because you're not going to be
Yeah.
counting on every single sword being some sort of big hit, and it's going to be you're not going to float yourself one sword at a time. You're
Yeah.
going to be building a lot of little small things which may or may not succeed, and then have the occasional one big thing which really does succeed, and that's what you float yourself on.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just curious to see is considering the economics for the mod creators going to enter the picture at any point for the pricing models that these different games have? Because ostensibly that's the point, but I can also see that basically because the discussion is just really going to be between Valve and the game maker, with whatever they decide is fair for everybody else to get being what everybody else gets.
Yeah,
I'm just curious to see
think,
where the representation for the mod maker is going to be in this whole thing.
Yeah, and I think that also will come down to the free market response, where if suddenly players are going more towards Skyrim because they are able to create and there are more mods for it and stuff like that, I wonder if that will force the publishers and the developers to come in line with whatever deals they're negotiating.
Yeah, I think that's going to end up having to be step 2 of the whole thing. Step 1, open it up, see what the hell happens, and then they'll have to respond from there. What the market looks like, if anything, maybe this is just a grand experiment that ultimately doesn't lead to anything.
Well, I think people are going to mod if there was no money involved or not. People are going to do it. I mean, think back to Excitebike. How many hours did you spend building your own stages because you could do all the fun ramps? I mean, people are going to do it. It's just a bonus that there's money there.
But are people going to? Do you think? I'm wondering if people will stop doing it for free, and now that, well, maybe that will chase out some of the people that have put in, countless hours to create these free mods in favor of people that are doing it for money. Like, are we going to see? Is it going to kill the free modder in favor of the monetized?
Well, we haven't seen the death of free small indie games in the face of stuff like Humble Bundle, which essentially is what this kind of is. They're putting this up against this huge, like, oh, we're going to have all of these paid games now, all these little tiny indie games that never got paid for. Like, for example, when Greenlight went up, and there was this actual concern. Will these small paid games that make it on Greenlight chase out the small free games that may or may not make it on Greenlight? And that simply hasn't happened. We've seen both of them explode. I think in the long term this is going to be a positive thing. Yeah. But just in the short term, figuring out how to make the small details work so that way everybody's happy is going to be the big challenge.
I also think one thing I think we may start seeing, and this is a guess, of course, and we've already seen it a little bit, but I think it'll be more pronounced, is you might see the birth of a new industry within the industry where it is small groups of independent developers working together under an actual professional banner simply to create DLC and new content for games. If they can find a way to break into the console market where it's easier and arguably, and this is another argument for another time, but arguably more visible. If these new small modders coming together under a new professional banner can work to develop things for games, will publishers accept them because it helps their game with longevity? And if so, are we seeing the birth of a new profession within the industry? So it could be an interesting angle.
Professional modder.
Well,
that was professional modding studios.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Or also, how about something like maybe like the YouTube creator spaces, but for mods, where you have like incubators for mods that Valve kind of puts together. They can be short-term things as well. But also that the thing is, as far as opening up to mods, well, before there was no money in it for the developers. I mean, aside from additional game sales and longevity, but now there's like a direct link between having mods and developers and publishers making money. And that, if more than anything, is going to crack open the market for mods in a big way, because now developers and publishers actually have a reason to say, we should think about mod support because this is an additional revenue stream for us.
I agree with that, but I think also that games in general, like you've seen it with the next-gen games, every next-gen game, not every, but pretty much every game seems like it has multiplayer. That was always a thing on the last gen, and it's more of a thing now as well. So developers are always looking at ways to increase just the attractiveness of their games to people that are looking at them. So maybe developers 5 years from now, maybe 2 years from now, will be like, hey, look, we have this game. It has this multiplayer stuff. this multiplayer will never end because we have outside mod support to come in and change it, and you can continually update and change this game. It's never going to stop being fun because we're always there. And maybe the developer has their own mods in there as well, so maybe it is money, but I think it's also just a matter of making it more attractive to people. And that's kind of a thing I'm seeing with all games these days is you have to prove the value of your game. And that's more and more important. It always was, but now more than ever, I think it's important. So who knows? I think this is just a fascinating sociological experiment. I don't know what will happen. I think it's really cool, though.
Well, Valve does have an in-house economist, so I'm sure they've done the math on it.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to if you guys, I'm guessing you probably have all seen at least some of the trailers that have been released over the last week or two. They're just, for whatever reason, I'm a firm believer that Hollywood studios, whenever you hear people at the executives being like, oh, there's no real competition, we love everybody over at Paramount. Bullshit. It's the most competitive field in the world, and so when you see one Star Wars trailer, wow, suddenly Batman has a trailer out. Who knew? Of the trailers you guys seen, what have your favorites been over the last week or two? I'm sure you guys have all seen at least one or two.
Star Wars. I don't even have to think about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. No brainer.
See, and
Yeah,
I'm not as big on Star Wars in general. I mean, I like Star Wars a lot, so I enjoyed the trailer, but it didn't melt my brain the way it did for a lot of people.
Yeah, and we were talking about this earlier, and then I think the Star Wars trailer, if you take away the name Star Wars and you take away John Williams' music, it's just an okay trailer because it doesn't really tell anything or see anything. It has some cool visuals, but it's Star Wars.
But it's Star Wars, so oh my god.
Well, more specifically, it's actually Star Wars. That's the thing with the trailer, is that because everyone was concerned, oh my god, are they actually going to make a Star Wars movie, or is it going to be a movie that says Star Wars at the front of it?
Yeah, like Star Trek. Exactly like Into Darkness, which we were talking about earlier. Right. Star Trek Into Darkness, J.J. Abrams, it was an action movie with Star Trek thrown over top of it. So, yeah, I think you're right. Is it going to be Star Wars, or is it going to be Star Wars action movie number 2 or whatever?
And that was the thing I think why everybody got really excited about this one, is that people it felt like Star Wars. It was kind of the first sign that we've had throughout this whole project that they actually understand what made Star Wars work.
See, I think I've thought this a long time. I think there should be an Oscar for trailers, because I think there are different types of trailers. There are trailers that people throw out there and it's just like, look at how awesome our effects are, kaboom, Michael Bay, it's just like, you have a penis, is it erect? Explosion! And that's all it is over and over again with hot women sunk in. But there is an art to a trailer. It's like a really good ad where you condense everything into this, 2-minute clip. But do you do it so it's hyping what the movie can be, or are you hitting onto the potential fan base? And I think Star Wars, it knows its fan base. So it has that really haunting John Williams score. It has, X-Wings, woo! Repurposed dialogue from the last movies, woo! Yeah. And then it has, it ends with, an old Harrison Ford, holding on to a rug and saying, we're home. And in another trailer, it'd be like, what the fuck? But in this one, it's like, awesome!
Yeah, what that trailer did a really good job of is it did a really good job of combining just enough nostalgia points and just enough new stuff that you're like, oh shit, what was that? Oh, was that? Oh, I think that's Brienne of Tarth in that armor. Oh shit! Yeah. Oh, that guy's. Oh, the kid from Attack the Block is definitely a stormtrooper. Oh man! Oh god! Now we got crashed destroyers on Tatooine. Oh wait, that's not Tatooine. Oh shit! You've got this whole. Yeah.
And so take that trailer and compare it to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which is still a ridiculous and terrible name, but I thought
Casey, by the way.
Yeah, to me that it confirmed my fears of that movie. It looks It looks like a Zack Snyder movie, kind of just cold with
Can we just
too
all
much
agree to?
sepia.
Can we just all agree to call it World's Finest and just be done with it?
I would be fine
It's
with.
so much easier.
I would be fine. I don't get why Batman v Superman. Why not verse Superman? Like, what is it, a legal case? Are they going to court? Is there going to be a lot of heavy dialogue about the rights of man and all this?
Bruce v. Clark.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Batman v Superman now appearing at the Supreme Court near you.
yeah, it's just, and then the trailer itself is just a bunch of like very cold, distant scenes with it. I want my eyeballs to shoot out of my head when I see Batman vs Superman. Like, it's every fucking fantasy from my childhood rolled up into one and thrown at me, and instead I'm just kind of like, eh.
I was really impressed with the amount of people that got to do voiceovers for that intro section. They
Yeah.
got a lot of famous people to voice over for that shit.
It was 3, and Jesse Eisenberg sounds exactly like I was afraid he would sound like as Lex Luthor. Do you know, there's like these gods and they're coming from the screen. Oh my god! He sounded like, a hyped up, his social network,
Right.
which is not the real Zuckerberg, but it was like his social network version of Zuckerberg.
Dude, you realize that Zuckerberg is the real life version of Lex Luthor.
That's a good point.
That's
like
an
a
interesting
point.
comparison.
It's not. It's almost typecasting at this point, is what I'm saying.
So you're telling me he's gonna build a suit like Luthor has that he can take down Superman with?
Don't put anything out of reach of Facebook. Seriously.
I don't know, if any rich like billionaire were gonna be evil, I would fear Elon Musk by far. Like, he'd be the one I would
He's just
assassinate him now.
He's been conning us this whole time. We're like, that
No way.
Elon Musk guy is so
He's the
cool.
closest
But
to
it
Iron
turns
Man.
out-
He's
No.
the closest we have to Tony Stark.
Yeah,
No, I have
if he were trapped in a desert cave somewhere with ISIS holding him, we would have Iron Man within like a month.
Well, I mean,
Can we make that happen?
that'd be well.
Hey, Elon, what are you doing next month? Would you like a tour of the Middle East? Like, no. He's that smart. He's like, no,
Yeah,
fuck
he doesn't-
you guys.
No.
I don't think that would happen. But yeah, he's Iron Man.
The other thing is that I think the fact that they showed nothing of Superman versus Batman besides Batman standing on the ground in his fancy not Iron Man suit, and Superman just kind of hovering 10 feet above him, glowering at each other. They might have zero idea how to actually have them fight and have it be good.
Supposedly in the actual IMAX release that showed this showed the trailer, there was like an additional 2 seconds of them rushing towards each other, and everyone was like, wow, that was awesome.
So it's going to be the end of Matrix Revolutions?
Yeah, pretty much. There's leaked footage of, someone with a smartphone, like, and it shows it, and it's just like, okay, great.
Because if it's just two people running into each other over and over and over, that's literally the end of Matrix Revolutions, one of the worst climactic fight scenes ever.
Or it's the intro to Ninja Gaiden on the NES.
The hardest game ever.
If they dedicate themselves and render it in VGA, I might show up for that.
Well, see, the armor he's wearing, I mean, that whole thing is ripped directly from Dark Knight Returns, the comic,
Right.
when he goes head to head or toe to toe against Superman. So that's what they're calling to. I just figured that they just don't have any real footage, and they knew Star Wars was coming out or was about to come out or just came out, and they're like, oh fuck, get something out there.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. The movie is a year away from release. 10 and a half months, something like that. So getting a trailer this early is pretty wild. But so I don't know. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, Warner Brothers is like, we're here. Hi, don't forget us.
You know me. I'm a Batman fanboy, so I'm hyped for it regardless. The trailer didn't do anything to bring me down, but it didn't blow my mind by any means.
Well, for me, I'm a Batman fanboy too, and I don't care about Superman at all. Like I told you guys in the last podcast, I didn't even watch the Superman movie. I give zero fucks about Superman, so I'll go see it for Batman, but it kind of neutralizes that it's with Superman.
Yeah, in episode 1 of Deadbeat's panel, I spoiled the ending of Man of Steel for Trevor.
Sons of bitches.
But I mean, I'm a comic book nerd from way back, so Marvel, DC, I'll see it no matter what. Shut up and take my money. But at the same time, I was really hoping to be super excited about this. I'm trying to not have any judgment about Batfleck and all that, and I think Henry Cavill is great as Superman. I like him a lot. But this trailer, it just kind of confirmed everything about Zack Snyder that I don't like. It looks cold and sepia tone. He's like the hipster with Instagram that can't take his goddamn setting off sepia.
Well, how did you feel about the Aquaman shot from a couple months back?
Again, I'm willing to give that a huge pass because I love Jason Momoa. I thought he was, amazing Game of Thrones. I even liked him on Stargate Atlantis.
I thought he was good on Atlantis. Yeah.
I do too. I think he is a good actor.
More typecasting.
Yeah, and so I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. It's Snyder's. I don't really have a problem with any of the casting, so to speak. I thought Gal Gadot, okay, I'm willing to give it a try. She, she looks like a gust of wind will knock her over. But she was also IDF. She was trained in the Israeli military, so she can probably kick some ass. And so I'm fine with all the casting so far. Zack Snyder's, the way he does films and the way Warner Brothers is allowing him to kind of determine all of these films, I'm afraid they're all going to be this like overly gritty, serious, super dark and soulless kind of look at superheroes, and it's kind of like, meh. I don't know. I'm not into it, but I will watch every one of them.
Yeah.
How did you read the Aquaman comic book? Did anybody actually read them?
Yeah, I've read some of them. Like, it really takes a good writer. Where like Batman, you can have a mediocre writer, and it's interesting. Aquaman, you got to have a really good writer.
He can talk to dolphins,
Yeah, they've like kind of toned that down, and like over the years, it used to be like, I will summon fish, and like that was his big thing, and now it's like he can beat up Superman, and like they've tried so hard to make him cool.
Yeah, I like the Aquaman from Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon that I watch with my son. He's actually pretty funny.
In the game Injustice, the Mortal Kombat DC game, he has like this trident, and he whoops everybody's ass. Like he is Billy Badass with the trident.
It's a big fork. I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying it, man.
So I don't know. I'm willing to see. I like Jason Momoa because I can see. I like the angle of him, Aquaman, King Arthur Curry being kind of like a super pissed underwater king that is sick of our shit, rather than hello my dolphiny friends, take them home. I like the idea of him being kind of an angry world leader, and I can see Momoa. He's the Khalasar. He's Khal Drogo with a fish army.
How do you feel about the Joker image that got dropped today, though?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I'm willing to give it a try. I'm more concerned about Snyder than I am. I think we all kind of concluded that it's an interesting original take. So give it a try.
I actually think that's like the most Snyderiest thing that we've seen so far, to be honest.
I just keep going back to all the stories everyone is running about the internet reaction to Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Well, and what I was going to mention in our first episode and forgot halfway through was it's not like this is a new thing. Everyone melted down when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman.
I'm confident Jared Leto can nail it. He's a pretty solid actor. He can nail that.
To be fair, everyone also kind of melted down when George Clooney was cast as Batman, and that was the proper reaction.
That is very true.
A very strong shit.
His codpiece was very big.
I do enjoy people that try and convince me that Clooney is still the best Bruce Wayne.
What?
I don't.
Who does that?
Your friend who's like the real life troll. Like he tries to get you into arguments that he doesn't actually believe in, but he just wants to see your brain melt. Those guys.
Yeah.
Don't you just hit? You just no.
Yeah. I just say Michael Keaton and walk away. It's fine.
I will still argue that even though it was not a great movie, I really liked Val Kilmer as Batman.
He did a good job. I'm not
See-
gonna. I can't hate on Val Kilmer as Batman.
Back before he got super fat and weird.
Yeah.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is the best performance of his career.
I agree with that. He's really good. Like the Salton Sea was pretty good too, but it was a weird movie, like disturbing. But thinking of trailers though, did you guys see new Fantastic Four?
No.
Yes, I did. I am
we-
intrigued.
I am too. I really like the guy directing it, Josh Trank. He did Chronicle, which I loved. He's doing the next Star
That's a
Wars.
great film.
Yeah, he's doing the next Star Wars standalone after Rogue One. So what is that? 2018, I think. They haven't said anything about it, but a lot of people are really hot on him right now, and I see why. I love Michael B. Jordan. I think he's great. Miles Teller, I don't know much about. I'm willing to give him a try. So I don't know.
It's not terrible.
Yeah, the last two Fantastic Four movies were awful. I mean, they were just painfully bad.
Here's a way to tie our last two topics together. I guess and Casey, I mentioned this in the first episode, but the release of the new Jared Leto Joker photo for me, because I originally felt like Suicide Squad was a movie that they announced. I was like, well, that seems highly unnecessary, but okay. And then now they released the Jared Leto picture. I was like, oh, cool. So it could be this whole new take. I'm interested to see that kind of now. I keep forgetting there's a Fantastic Four movie coming. Like, I don't care at all. I'll go see it, but it feels now even more extraneous than Suicide Squad. But then again, I had never heard of Guardians of the Galaxy either, so what the hell do I know?
Well, they so thoroughly burned the bridges with Fantastic Four with the most recent two that they napalm those bridges to dust. And
Tim's story, I think, is not working at the moment, which is good. The director of the last two movies, he needs to go back.
The thing that intrigues me about the new trailer is that it shows that I thought about this when I was watching Daredevil the other day. That the thing what made the previous Daredevil movie just god awful and the Netflix series work beyond simply acting quality, directing quality, art design, music, set, story, everything essentially. The core thing is that they realized you can't just tell a comic book story straight. You have to take it and look at the core of that story and go, okay, what themes can we tie into this to make this more resonant? And the previous two Fantastic Four stories were just taking the comic books, telling them straight. Whereas this one, they're actually seem to be trying to have some sort of larger theming here, which, I mean, if they pull it off, that could be what makes this worthwhile.
Yeah,
it could also just completely fizzle and just suck, but at least they're trying.
The last movie is what killed me was their take on Doom.
That was disappointing.
Like, hey buddies, I'm Doom. How you doing? Like he was like kind of just like swarty, creepy uncle that comes to your house and drinks too much and is like hitting on your girlfriend. Their take on Doom was to me just an example of everything wrong with that movie. They just didn't really know what they were doing. And Casey, I think you're right. They were just like, these comic book things, people seem to like them these days. Let's go back. And they're like bringing up comic ideas from the 60s and 70s, and it's not going to work anymore.
Whereas
it's got to be gritty.
Well, it doesn't have to be gritty. It just has to tie it into a theme. Like, for example, Daredevil is all about it's very much kind of the street level versus the penthouse kind of thing, where you have where Daredevil's recast as a street level people superhero, kind of fighting against inequality of kind of just of both social, economic, and actual just power. And whereas in the movie with Ben Affleck, it was just he's a blind lawyer and he hits people. The movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it just comes down to taking it seriously, whatever it is. it doesn't like I don't think it has to be gritty. Like I wouldn't say Guardians of the Galaxy was gritty, but they took it seriously. Where like DC's stuff all looks gritty, and I don't know if that'll work for it. So I don't know.
Well, in Guardians, like Star-Lord's character, when that opening scene and they bring in the 80s music and the Walkman, like it captured you and brought you in with that character right from the get-go.
Yeah.
They haven't really done that with Fantastic Four. Like, you never gave a shit about any of the characters. I just watched the trailer while we were talking. If you notice my face, it was like this.
Wait a
But it looked
commitment to
good.
the
I mean, I
craft
wish
right
they would have
there.
started with this one because I'm actually interested. I'm like, oh, I don't really remember what their origin story other than, you know, they went to space and got superpowers. So I wouldn't mind seeing this one.
yeah. I'm interested in this one. Yeah, this one they go to a different dimension and get powers, which that's the Ultimates version of the characters. So yeah, that's cool. So if you guys haven't, I would also recommend checking out the Attack on Titan trailer. I don't know, it's so far it's only in Japanese. They haven't announced any American releases, but if you want a dark goddamn show to watch that's really good, the anime Attack on Titan is
Just bizarre, man.
it's bizarre and it's so dark. It's like
Yeah.
there are like a dozen characters and like 3 of them maybe survive like 2 episodes. Like it continually changes like characters because everybody dies horribly, like screaming. So I mean that sounds messed up, and it is, but it's also like a really, really interesting show.
Yeah, I started watching that with my 6-year-old and quickly realized my mistake.
Yeah.
Turn on The Walking Dead instead. And figure, why not? He's already screwed. Like
Let's soften it up a little bit and watch Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I like the complaints that AMC apparently was getting over with Walking Dead about having gay characters and not being able to show people being like, Mike, I watched this with my kids. I can't have gay characters on TV. And I'm like, what? Father of the Year. Yeah, Walking Dead with your children.
In that same episode where two gay characters kissed, there was like this one scene where they were just walking through this field of zombies, stomping their heads, and like brains and blood were going everywhere, and it's like, and they're like, yeah, I can just imagine the people at home going, that's good effects, and then like, you know, these 2 guys kiss, and they're like, nope, I'm out, I can't do it. And,
Well, they're just teaching their kids that the world is shit, everyone is terrible and out to get you, and only violence is the only way to solve your problems. I think that's a perfectly consistent set of values.
I'm a little offended there's no gay zombies, personally. There should really be some gay zombies.
just that would be hard to sell, but you know,
If
sure.
one of them got bitten, then you'd have gay zombies. There you go.
Is that how it spreads? Is that how that works?
But it's also weird and kind of sad almost that the idea of any topics of like sex are way worse apparently than a TV show where you see people rip heads apart. And this is you know, it's basic cable. Like, you know, I Game of Thrones, you know, you can probably get away with a little more horror because it's, you know, it can define itself as an R-rated TV show. But this is just a basic, you know, broadcast TV where, you know, heads are being wow,
hey, if it's after the watershed, then it's fine. I mean, that's something that I think that Americans kind of don't realize. We have a watershed. For those of you who don't know what that is, a watershed is a UK television term where after a certain period of time, they can air more explicit content. And we actually have one in the United States. We have a watershed where you can air R-rated content after a certain period of time. I think it's like 10.
I don't know if that is. I don't know if they count that for cable TV. I think it is just a matter of the advertisers. I don't know if the FCC has the same regulation power on cable TV. I think it just comes down to whoever, because like Comedy Central has aired the full uncut South Park movie, which is just, you know,
Oh, wow.
explicit and
they're
laden.
up all night movies.
Yeah,
And
so I don't know, and I also don't know. It seems like you know, language and violence are not a big deal anymore at all, but like nudity is still no. We can't show that at all.
Yeah,
the below the waist nudity.
Especially this last season, Walking Dead continues to. I guess shock is still the best way to describe it. I mean, there's been some episodes where you see some shit, and I'm like, what? "Muh," and then I have to pause it and like take a walk. You know, it's.
Spoiler alerts, Dud.
Oh, I'm not gonna tell you who or anything.
You need a spoiler warning that The Walking Dead is really harsh. Like, people
Yes.
die.
I was expecting this to be the turnaround season.
Wait,
so.
there are no puppies?
I'm sure there's puppies somewhere in it. They're just all eaten.
Zombie puppies. There's one episode this season with these dogs. I won't spoil it for you.
Ah!
They jump through the windows in the mansion.
It doesn't well.
You walk through the hall the first time, the dogs don't jump out the windows at, but you walk back the other way, dogs jump out at you. Spoiled.
Well, back to what you were saying earlier about nudity, I was actually rewatching Game of Thrones on a flight and didn't think anything about it, and then I realized there was children sitting behind me, and Khal Drogo was pushing his wheel onto the little blonde girl. Oh, maybe I better shut this lid down.
They're just peeking through the seats.
I had to watch it under the little travel blanket they give you, and.
But then when they got to the beheading, where you're like, oh, that's cool.
I was like,
this is pretty crazy, huh?
He had it coming, right?
Actually, it's totally fine. Those kids watch Walking Dead all the time.
Mm-hmm. Probably until the gay
until the
comes on, and then nope, it's out.
Well, to kind of briefly drag this back to Attack on Titan, where this started somehow. There was one thing that I was curious about to see if they actually keep intact, because there was a great PBS Idea Channel episode about are the Titans in Attack on Titan actually evil? Because they're essentially unthinking beasts, right? So since they're acting without any sort of actual agency, can they be considered evil, or are they? And also the show apparently went out of its way to kind of contrast that with the more despicable yet justified actions of the main characters and the other human characters, and that kind of have that contrast going. Will that be because Japanese movies, just like American movies, sometimes lose something in translation from their source material? And seeing as that was kind of one of the main themes of Attack on Titan, apparently, then will that carry over?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to. I mean, I've seen as much as you guys have in these little trailers, but it seems like the Titans are being depicted kind of as a force of nature, which is how they should be, with a few spoiler-filled exceptions. But from what I've read about the movie and saw in the anime, it's almost as much about like the human survivors being dicks to each other and trying to minimize resources and get the rich people more resources than the poor, which is a big theme in the anime and the manga. So I think they're working on that, but again,
and also that brings it back around to, because that's also zombie movies. To bring it back to The Walking Dead, full circle, yes, winning at this. But the woo, internet high five. But that's kind of the that's kind of the function that zombies have as well. That they are this force of nature. That the the zombies are the way that the world enacts its punishment on the unrighteous and evil characters. That if you're a dick, the zombies get you. Because you were a dick and you violated the rules.
Everybody dies in The Walking
Dead. Because everybody's a dick, too.
Well, there you go. Okay, The Walking Dead,
kind of a dick.
I saw the first 3 episodes of The Walking Dead, and I realized it's going to go down the same path of the reason why I didn't watch Battlestar Galactica, which is, if I want to get punched in the dick every week, I don't need to watch television to do that.
If you want to lose everyone you've cared about, or you can just live life as opposed to having it happen on a weekly basis.
That's kind of why my wife Kristen, she did not really get into Daredevil as much, just because there's just everything on TV these days is gritty and real and everybody sucks. And I thought Daredevil was brilliant. I look forward to forgetting enough of it to watch it again. But it's kind of what is that so thing? What the hell?
What, on Daredevil?
You son of a bitch.
You're wrong. You're incorrect.
Punchy lawyer.
Ooh. You're incorrect. I'm now. I don't know if I can continue this.
Yeah. How do I mute Trevor here?
Well, that's. I mean,
I'm still watching it. I just.
How far are you?
Stamp that says wrong.
Like episode 4, maybe.
So I mean, but
Okay.
I don't know. Like
You need to
the
watch
second
the-
episode with the one shot hallway fight was just like badass.
And the second episode, not the seventh, the fifth episode, the one after you, the one that you stopped at, is the one where you realize exactly how much legwork they've done on the show. Because they took Kingpin, who was one of the most one-note Marvel villains, and made him this dense, layered, and complicated character.
Yeah, once he gets back into it, it changes. Like Vincent D'Onofrio should at least get an Emmy nomination for his role. It's like it's pretty badass.
That you actually kind of understand why he's doing all these things besides just forte evils.
Yeah,
because evil.
Uh,
But like you were saying, Casey, about Walking Dead is the same reason, as I mentioned in episode 1, that I didn't get into Breaking Bad or Sons of Anarchy because it was like, fuck, these shows are dark and nothing good ever happens. And I kind of why I stuck with Walking Dead so long is because I got really into the comics, and so I hung on with it for long enough that now I'm like invested with those characters. So
no, it's too late. It's all over. They have you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I can get that with.
And the comics were dark.
Because
Yeah.
I would say that Breaking Bad kind of has a different allure to it, simply because it's all about that whole slow descent of Walter White from being. Well, it's not even a descent. It's just the unveiling that the darkness was always there. You could tell from the beginning that he is a man driven by pride and desire for his great genius to be recognized. Yeah. And it just takes them 5 seasons to strip every bit of the artifice he's built around himself as this decent man away.
So, Trevor, have you seen all of Breaking Bad?
Yes.
Okay, so if I told you about
freely.
the last episode, so this is what happens in the final shot. It's
you can totally do it. I asked.
I'm not going to.
Well, I asked a friend. I asked right in my mutual friend Adam Roscoe. I was like, okay, so just so I'm like up to speed in pop culture, what happens in the last episode of Breaking Bad?
It was a really good ending, really solid ending. I thought.
Although honestly, for my money, the big episode that everybody kind of needs to understand for Breaking Bad isn't the last one. It's Ozymandias.
Was that
that's the episode where everything falls apart?
Yes.
Where the whole enormous artifice of this meth kingpin / family man thing that Walter White's built up for himself just implodes.
In spectacular fashion, I take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no,
okay.
It's the best hour of television ever. Just ever. Straight up.
Okay, so finally getting back on track here. Let's go to one more story here that I wanted to get you guys' take on. Japan is now introducing humanoid robots. I don't know what you call them. Terrifiers. I think they are supposed to be there for greeting purposes. But, you know, they just kind of scare the shit out of me. What do you guys think? Is this a good idea, or are we all doomed?
Cylons.
Damn toasters.
They're not even at the T-1000 level from Terminator. What was it? Which Terminator was it where we saw how terrible their first attempts were? One of the ones I don't care about.
Oh, that was 3.
Yeah, but Japan likes their gimmicks. They love their technology gimmicks.
Let me see if I can get this video to play here as well. And it's just like you walk into this department store and you're greeted by this creepy soul. It's like, look at that! It blinks, and it doesn't fully blink. It just kind of like winces its eyes, like it's sizing you up. The one thing that really kind of disturbed me the most about this, Toshiba developed this robot. Or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if robot's even the right term at this point. But it developed it to be specifically, I think it was a 32-year-old Japanese woman, and it can cry. What the fuck kind of like... What can you possibly need a robot to cry for?
Because
once
she gains sentience and realizes she works as a greeter at Walmart, she's gonna cry.
See, I have a darker theory.
Oh.
I think in the dark Toshiba underbelly, the CEOs have actually developed this same model to be a sex doll. And that's why she cries when she has to go to her daytime job after being molested during the day.
Yeah, I think the Toshiba CEOs are like, oh, it was a good sex bot, but it didn't cry enough for me. It's like
It serves scotch from its nipples, and that's something we really need.
yeah, I mean, you've probably seen that story as well. That's coming soon. Japanese, like, if you guys didn't see it, there's another Japanese robot that it's being introduced in clubs where its nipples squirt different types of alcohol.
Oh yeah.
And to get it to do it, you have to like fondle the breast properly and then squeeze. Like
God damn it, Japan.
Yeah, goddamn it, Japan. That's like the only thing.
That's utterly disgusting.
Breaking new ground in sexism, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, America has plenty of its fucked up quirks, but Jesus Christ, robots that cry now, female robots that cry now,
Female robots that cry.
Electric sheep.
Look, when you full body tackle it after being freaked the fuck out, it needs to let you know that you're hurting it.
And I understand if you create robots, male and female, and you want them to have the ability to cry because in future maybe you want it to be able to convey all these emotions, they are specifically working on a 32-year-old female robot that can cry.
Well, on another strange note, have you ever been to one of the Walmarts and met some of the greeters that aren't able to cry that probably should be able to?
That's all
Yeah,
of
if
them.
you haven't, go visit Walmart. They don't have them around you in Portland too much, but here in Kansas, it's an interesting thing.
You haven't been to a Walmart, so you've been to a 24-hour Walmart at 1 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
In Kansas, they're all over. They used to have hyper Walmarts years ago where the attendants would have rollerblades on, and they would just scoot around the store, like pretending to be happy all the time, like, ha, they're watching us.
I was just thinking of when you said hyper Walmart, I thought like a 4 or 5 dimensional Walmart, a higher dimensional Walmart where it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and once you go in, the door you enter is not the door through which you can leave.
It's the house of leaves of Walmarts.
Imagine how many directions you'd have to watch for falling prices in that type of world.
The Walmart Tesseract.
Blue Market Special right behind you. Like, oh God.
There's at the Walmart on 82nd in Portland. There's one of the greeters is this old biker dude, and he's got full sleeves up both arms. It's fantastic, and he's the nicest dude.
I said he's
the
gonna be the
Walmart.
nicest guy ever.
He's awesome. I love walking in there.
Welcome to Walmart. Buy something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. What should I buy?
Okay. Uh-huh.
So yeah, I don't know. And these robots, like, part of the Japan's like culture on letting people in, like caregivers and all that, is like propelling the robot market. There's a big thing it's going to be an issue in a few years where they have an elderly population that is booming compared to their younger population. So there's going to be a huge need for caregivers in the very near future. But their immigration standards are so high that despite people begging to come into Japan where the cost of living is, or the quality of life is better, they are instead developing robots to take care of their elderly rather than letting in a lot of trained professionals from other countries. It's very bizarre, and because
they're super racist. That's the answer. Japan is super racist.
Yeah, well, it's a little beyond racism. It's like xenophobia as well. So I mean,
because they're like, it's not made by, because that was I got so tired of feeling this question when I worked Circuit City for a Christmas season, which was terrible.
Yeah, I bet.
But the number one question I got fielded working in digital cameras and camcorders was, is it made in Japan?
Huh.
That if it wasn't made in Japan, they wanted nothing to do with it. And that attitude completely carries over to everything in Japan. That if it's not made by Japanese people in Japan, don't want nothing to do with it. It's obviously inferior.
Yeah.
You're going to have that complex with Ford trucks and Chevy trucks, and it's got to be made in America. Damn it.
The thing, even when you point out to those people that their Chevy and Ford trucks are made in Mexico, they don't really care quite so much. It's not like they're going to stop buying Ford trucks.
Well, they have American in their title. South America.
Yeah, but Henry Ford was American, so therefore a Ford is American.
That's right.
But yeah, it's just Japan is crazy.
I think
I just read an article recently on kind of the same topic as the robot industry you were talking about, Ryan. And there's McDonald's has bought kind of like the self-checkout versions for in the store. So it's not even a robot. You just order your McDonald's at a computer and move on with your life.
Is it cheaper than $12 an hour?
Yeah, I think so. I think long term, it's definitely more feasible business entry level.
Get rid of those pesky humans and their
I know.
demands for
They're gross.
who
They
the
have
fuck
to
is
get their
getting $12 an
fingernails.
hour at McDonald's?
That's what they're pushing for right now. The McDonald's is pushing McDonald's has already agreed to raise their minimum wage, and they're pushing for I think $12 or $14 an hour.
I heard that in Seattle, the unions have pushed the prices up so high that it's hard for restaurants.
Well, in Seattle, it's $15 an hour now. It's
Yeah.
That's city ordinance. That's not unions. That's by city ordinance.
So Casey, you're talking about it's $12 an hour, like across the company.
Yeah, I mean, if the robots are cheaper than 12, well, the thing is that it sounds like a great idea, but robots are really terrible at dealing with humans. Because we are random and irrational and just kind of do shit, and computers very much like to have things just kind of happen in a set order. And so you just throw shit at a robot, they get confused.
I want to see what happens when Taco Bell introduces these robots, and then like people come in at 2 a.m. and they're like, "Could I have a taco? Do you have any chocolate?" The robot's like, "What? I don't know." Like, and it's like, "But I want chocolate. I want chocolate." And then they get drunk.
Well, have you been to one of the Subway drive-thrus that has the touch screen?
A touch
There's
screen?
a Subway by my house, and you pull up and you just touch your order, and then you pull up to the window, and a human gives you your sandwich.
That's not a terrible idea at all.
No, it's pretty sweet. I don't have to talk. I hate drive-thrus. I get nervous. There's too much pressure, so being able to do my touch button thing, I enjoy
So
it.
basically what I'm getting out of our conversation is that the robot revolution is going to start at a fast food restaurant.
It's already started, my friend.
Are
No,
you really
I'm talking
surprised
about
by that, Joe?
No. A, no. B, I'm talking about, you like how I'm counting A and B on my fingers? B,
A, B, 3, and then
B, I'm talking about the actual, like, Terminator Revolution. That part.
Oh, it started.
They'll vomit red hot recycled meat on your face.
The new Diablo sauce that's coming at Taco Bell is actually
It's just
radioactive.
It's just hydrofluoric
From
acid.
people.
but like,
By the way, Ryan, Jai Courtney is in Terminator Genesis.
oh yeah, of course. Hollywood is determined to put him in your face. But and yeah, that was another trailer, by the way. Have you guys seen the most recent Terminator Genesis? To bring it all the way back around, it is.
Khaleesi.
Do I want to?
It is a terrible trailer. Because
I was not aware there was. Is there even another Terminator movie coming?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Khaleesi is Sarah Connor.
And it's it's a
okay.
Star Trek. It's a Star Trek style reboot where they go back in time yet again and kind of reboot the franchise. But until they've showed some decent clips, and it looked fine. You know, it looked all right. It was a Terminator movie set in modern day. Cool. It had old Schwarzenegger fighting off young Schwarzenegger, and this new like a Terminator who I don't know who the yes, the multi-faced He-Man Terminator. But it's a Terminator with like a silver skin. It's like liquid Terminator, and it looked fine. And then all of a sudden, in this new trailer, and spoilers, but this is in the trailer, it turns out John Connor from the future is a hybrid cyborg-style robot. And so they kept all of that super quiet, and then in the trailer, it's like, oh, by the way, here's the big twist ending. And it's like, wow, all right, I don't get that. So anyway, it looks like we lost Casey. I don't know. The robots apparently have had enough of his shit.
He knew too much. He knew too
Yeah.
much.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's back.
And we're back.
Yeah,
Are you
it's
a
like we.
robot?
Yeah, are you offended? I'm sorry.
The robots know that. Robots know that we're onto them, so they cut
Are you
the feed.
are you a huge Terminator fan and you wanted to avoid the spoilers I just dropped?
I was-
So you're like,
I-
nope, I'm out.
It was protecting me from having to hear about a new Terminator movie, I think. I don't know if I can handle another one.
Yeah, it was, but the thing is, like, the trailer it's unnecessary because it seems like now this late they've already put in they've already put out several trailers, and now this new trailer ruins the third act of the film because what could have been a really cool twist and a surprise is now laid out unnecessarily. They had
So you're
already
saying
built
it's
up the film without showing it. I'm saying that it looks like the studio has no faith in this movie.
So you're saying it's like 90% of modern trailers.
Yeah.
But it
think
came
goes back
late,
to what
though.
You were saying, Ryan, that a trailer needs to be like a short story where it's just important parts. I don't know.
It needs to be like a music video. Like, it needs to be approached differently. It shouldn't be a quick clip of what the movie contains. Yeah, it should be its own little music video style story. But the thing about this trailer is that it builds on all the other trailers and goes much further. There was already a baseline of trailers, and then they ruined a good chunk of the movie late in the game. So it feels to me like the studio has no faith in this movie, and they, scrambled to get out this new trailer that shows another Terminator or a cyborg or whatever it is.
See, and I don't understand. Well, I mean, I do understand because dollar bills, y'all. But I don't know why they keep making fucking Terminator movies because even though 3 wasn't great, the end of 3 I thought was fantastic. And spoilers if you haven't seen this movie from 10 years ago.
Cover your ears, Trevor.
Because the end of 3, the whole point was Judgment Day is inevitable. Even though they succeeded at their mission, Judgment Day still happened.
Well, and Skynet was Napster. There was that too.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a great way to encapsulate the whole thing. That would have been a perfect way to just go out. But no, now they keep muddying their own time travel waters. And now I don't think even the people writing the fucking movies can keep it straight at this point.
Do they really need to? That's why they're rebooting it.
Yeah, it's just like X-Men. X-Men kind of rebooted itself with Days of Future Past, and now it's like X-Men Origin Wolverines. Oh no, that just didn't happen. It's like, but wait, that movie supposedly took place like a little before or right around the same time. They're like, no, shut up, it didn't happen.
Retcon.
Yeah, it was like they wiped away all their shitty mistakes.
I think there's worse things that you could retcon out.
Yeah.
No, I know, but it's just kind of funny. They're like, how did that happen? And so this third X-Men movie didn't happen? They're like, because.
Yeah, let's retcon out the movie where we took Deadpool and didn't allow him to talk.
Well,
that
I mean,
was weird.
That
was a sin, damn
Do
it.
you really need any other reason to retcon? I mean, why are we getting offended that the reason for retconning is just because? I mean,
I'm not getting offended. I just think it's a funny new loophole that the studios have. Like, that last movie in the franchise didn't do so well. Let's do a time travel movie and ignore it. Oh yeah,
they're learning from their source material. Comic books have been doing that for decades.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm sick of reboots, man. I'm getting real sick of them.
Well, maybe we should just make good things.
What the? That's ridiculous. Don't get what just.
I know.
I'm retconning.
Idealist here. I realize.
I think Marvel has about 20 more years, and then you'll start seeing everything rebooted yet again.
Yeah, exactly.
Captain America: The First Avenger Part 2. All right, guys. I think that's probably a good place to end. We're running a little long. I want to thank you, everybody. Thank you, Casey, for joining us. Fun show, everyone. Trevor, go watch movies so we don't spoil things. Jesse, your beard is fantastic.
Why, thank you.
All right, and who is that, Trevor? Is that, what's his name? Two-Face? Multi-Face or something?
Many faces.
Man of many faces.
Here's our zombie representation. Here's our Superman representation. And here's our Terminator representation. Full
That-
circle. Get
That
it?
is that is a good find.
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's man E faces, right?
Yeah, man E faces. That's right.
Yep.
Very on the nose with He-Man. Okay, y'all. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more episodes sometime soon. Goodbye.
Bye.